Hi, I'm Casey Davis with Homestead & Co. Realty here in the Oklahoma City Metro, and I'm here to give you your market update for the week. So we are sitting at 499 new homes that went active in the last week. 489 were sold. We're sitting at 5.06% average or interest rate, for this week, and that's on a 30-year fixed. So just a smidge higher than last week. But I did want to talk to you guys about appraisal gaps. I get a lot of buyers that say, hey, what's an appraisal gap? What do you think we can do to win this bid? My biggest suggestion is highest and best. You got to put everything all in on the first offer that we're submitting. But appraisal gaps, everybody is like, what's that? How does that work? How am I protected? So first of all, an appraisal gap is you are committing to paying a certain amount over what the home appraises for if you're getting financing. So our lender is only going to give us, hey, the house appraised for $250, you offered $275. Okay, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller, purchase price is now $250. So that appraisal gap is, hey, we're going to cover the difference. So no matter what the home appraises for, we're going to pay $25,000 or whatever the appraisal gap that you would like to do, up to the purchase price. So let's say the purchase price was $275, appraises at $250, and we offered a $25,000 appraisal gap. We are going to have to come out of pocket with those funds. So if it means less towards your down payment, then that's where that needs to come from. If you know off the top of your head you only have $5,000 extra to play with, then, save that money. That's your appraisal gap money. So another thing to keep in mind with this appraisal gap. So in Oklahoma, a buyer is protected 2 times during the contract. So we have our inspection period and, say something goes haywire, Mr. Seller, your HVAC's not working on this house. We can't buy this unless you decide or you agree to fix it. Seller says no. Okay, cool. Well, we're canceling the contract. We're going to get our earnest money back and move on to the next one. That home goes back on the market. If we can come to an agreement, obviously we're ready to go, move on to the next step, which is the appraisal. So before we had to do appraisal gaps, appraisal comes in at $250. Okay, offer $275. Appraisal comes in at $250. Okay, Mr. Seller, sorry, your home is only worth $250,000. That's the new purchase price. Seller agrees to it. Cool, we move on. But the buyer also has an opportunity to back out of the contract at that point because it's not worth what it was worth. If we can't come to an agreement, if the seller does not want to come down on the purchase price, this buyer can walk away, get their earnest money back. Now, if you have offered an appraisal gap, you cannot get out of the contract in this time because that appraisal gap is saying no matter what the property appraises at, we're willing to spend XYZ of an appraisal gap up to our purchase price. So we're putting a cap on it. So if you're putting an appraisal gap in your offer, you cannot get out of that. So keep that in mind. Obviously, that's a really good way to win offers right now. And I get a question, what's the average or what are most people doing on an appraisal gap? It honestly depends on the area. It depends on the home. It depends on the buyer. I mean, there's so many variables in that. I would say in the 200 to 300 price point, a minimum of at least $5,000 over list price, but they're doing a full $5,000 appraisal gap. Higher price point homes, 300 to 500. I've had buyers offer $25,000 appraisal gaps on top of other concessions towards making their offer even stronger. But my biggest suggestion is if you are going to offer over a certain amount, hey, we're going to offer $25,000 over, do a gap to cover that whole thing. Because as a listing agent, if I would have thought that it was going to appraise for higher, we would have listed it there. So, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm pretty confident that this home is going to appraise at $250. Now, if the market tells us otherwise and a buyer offers over, great. they're gonna need to cover that. So that appraisal gap is just what's making this market go crazy, obviously, and difficult to buy if you don't have a ton of extra cash flow. But there's other ways to win your offers too. Just take some patience. So I hope this was helpful. I feel like it was a little bit longer video this week, but I wanted to talk to you guys about that because I've been getting a lot of questions. So feel free to message me if you have more or questions about your state and you don't know what that looks like in your state and how you're protected. I can get you in touch with somebody that does know how to walk you through all of that. And thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.